Hello, my name is David Bradburn. I'm with ZoomX, and I'm here today to talk about unpacking Snow 12. In this video, you'll learn what's inside the box and what its purpose is for. Okay, so we're going to look at what's inside the box, and here we have a Snow 12. It's a brand new unit. I'm going to lift the lid up. I'll place that towards the back here. And what we find inside, the first thing that we find actually is a plastic envelope that contains a large print user guide. There's also, if you notice at the very bottom here, a tiny USB to USB Type-C converter. We'll explain this in another video. Underneath the user guide, we have a registration card, there's a quick guide, and then finally a screen cleaning cloth that you can use. I'll place that to one side. So there's a couple of protective elements inside the box. I'm going to move the first one to the side, and what we will find underneath is a gray sleeve. You'll see the ZoomX logo at the top here, and inside here is the Snow 12 magnifier. We're going to look at that in a different video. So I'm just going to place this to one side as well. There's another foam insert. We'll place that out of the way too, and below we find the sturdy carrying case that comes with the Snow 12. I'm going to move my box, or what's left of it, to the side, and we're going to undo the zipper and push the lid backwards. So a couple of things to say. So inside here is the foldable frame. There is a zipped pocket inside the lid of the case. There's only one thing inside here at the moment, and that is a detachable shoulder strap that we can actually attach to this carry case for easier transporting. I'll put it back for right now. There is a flap below, which it sticks together with Velcro. I'm going to just kind of fold that open, and what we see is another little plastic insert with a variety of different cables. On the left-hand side, we actually have the two components that comprise the power cable. So there's the end with the plug, which of course goes into the wall, and then the other end would plug into the transformer like so, and the other end of this would then plug into the Snow 12. So I'm just going to leave those there for right now. And over on the right-hand side, we have two additional cables. The first is a USB to USB Type-C cable. We'll be using this when we connect Snow 12 to a computer for file transfer. And the other cable that's here is an HDMI cable. So you can use this in conjunction with the HDMI out port on the side of Snow 12 to connect to an external monitor if you wish. Let me just very briefly remove that insert. And below here then is the foldable case. Again, we will look at this in more detail in a different video. And if we're putting everything back, the foldable stand goes in first. You don't need to have this insert once you've actually unpacked everything. The cables can actually go inside the zipped pocket inside the lid. And we close the zippers, and we're done. So that concludes this video. So thanks for watching. If you would like to learn more about Snow 12 or any of the other products from ZoomX, please visit our website at www.zoomx.com. Thanks again. Hello, my name is David Bradburn, and I'm with ZoomX. I'm here today to introduce you to the Snow 12 video magnifier. Here we have our Snow 12. Worth pointing out, there are actually two models of Snow 12. There is a version that comes with OCR and text-to-speech, and there is a version that comes without those features. The version that we're using here today is the version with OCR and text-to-speech. So we have our carry case. It's a padded carry case, and inside is the video magnifier. So I'm going to take it out very carefully, place my carry case to one side. And so I'm holding the Snow 12 right now. Just one quick thing to look at before we go any further, and that is that on the back there is the foot stand. there's actually a small release button. You'll actually feel it. It is raised above the rest of the frame. When I press it, the footstand will be released, which means that when I place the Snow 12 on the table, it will be at the appropriate angle for reading. So, you'll find that there are a variety of buttons here on the front of the device, and from the left-hand side, we actually have a stick. It's an analog stick, and you might be able to notice that if I just push it from the left, right, or the bottom or the top, it moves this. It's like a joystick. And we can use this for moving around options that are on the screen. We can also use it to pan around the text when we are using the zoom features. The next button that we see is the freeze button. And so we use this button simply just to kind of press, and we capture an image of whatever the Snow 12 is looking at. The next button is the home button. The home button is pressed to access the menu, and inside the menu is where you can adjust settings for Snow 12. You can also access some of the more advanced features, such as the OCR and text-to-speech. We'll come to that in more detail a little later in this video. And over on the right are the buttons that you're probably going to use more than the others, because they are used for changing the presentation of text on the screen. So the first one is the mode button. We use the mode button to change the colors or otherwise change the presentation of things that we see on the screen. And the next two buttons, the minus and the plus, are our zoom out and zoom in buttons respectively. We use these to change the size of whatever we're looking at. Over on the right-hand side, there is one other button, and that is the power button. So if the device is completely off, we'll do a long press of this button to switch it on. If it's in standby mode, which this device is right now, we simply press and release. In terms of connections that are on the side of the device, since we're here, you'll notice that we have a headphone port, and so you can plug in your earbuds or other types of headphones if you want to listen to Snow 12 reading without disturbing other people. There's also an HDMI out port. So you would connect the HDMI cable here and connect the other end of the cable to an external monitor. And if I turn the device to the other side, you'll see that we have two other ports. The first is the USB. It's a Type-C connection. We use this to connect to a computer for file transfer. That will be covered in a different video. And the other port is the HDMI in. And this is reserved for a new external distance camera that we will be introducing later this year, where you can actually be zooming in on things that are on the other side of the room. At the bottom of the left-hand side of the device is not a button, but a port. This is where we would connect the power cable so that you can run the Zoom 12 on electricity. Just to complete this tour of the device, let me turn it around for us. And I want to point out a couple of things here. So at the top of the device, we have the camera. So we obviously don't want to block this camera. This is what's looking at what we're trying to magnify. On the left and the right-hand side, we have the LED lights. We have speakers below. So if you do have Snow 12 and it's speaking, you'll hear it through these if you don't have headphones plugged in. And then below, we have the footstand. There are two labels clearly indicating that you need to press to close the footstand. You press the button to release. And so if we were going to put the Snow 12 away, it would be in this position. You also put it in this position for distance mode, press this button to release, and now the Snow 12 can sit comfortably on the table. If you would like to learn more about Snow 12 or any of the other products from ZoomX, please visit our website at www.zoomx.com. Thanks again. Okay, so now I'm going to switch the device on. I'm going to press the power button on the right-hand side, and the device is now on. It was in standby mode, as I said. Let's bring over our user guide just to give us something to look at. So I'm going to place the Snow 12 on top of the user manual in this case, And now we're going to direct our attention to the color mode button and the zoom in and out buttons to show how those work. So if I press the mode switch, each time I do, you will notice that we are changing the color of the fonts and in some cases the background color. So now we're looking at yellow on black, now we have black on yellow, and so on and so forth. You can hide some of these color combinations. So if black on green is not a color you care for, you can hide it and never see it again. If I do a long press of the mode button, it returns to what we call normal color mode, at which point what you see is what you get. Okay, so let's look at the zoom buttons. So I'm going to come to the plus button, that's my zoom in. Each time I press it, the size of the print, in this case, increases, and in the upper right corner of the screen, it will tell us how many times magnified the image happens to be. Now that I have my image enlarged, I can use the analog stick on the left-hand side, and as I move my stick to the left or to the right or to go up and down, I can actually pan around my document without moving the magnifier. It's a very nice feature. To zoom out, I simply press, or conversely, I can just press and hold, and the device will zoom out or in, depending on which button I'm pressing, all the way to the minimum or maximum levels. Okay, so now let's turn our attention to the freeze button over on the left-hand side. So if the text in this case was something that I wanted to actually preserve so that I could read it in the future, it doesn't have to be text, it could be a picture of something, it doesn't have to be words. But in order to capture it, I simply press the freeze button. I press it, and my image is there now. So at this point, if I lift up the magnifier and move my document out of the way, the image is still here. On the screen, there is, in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, an on-screen button. The only way to access this is to simply tap it to expand, and this is actually an interface for saving or even opening previously saved images. So in this case, we want to save the image. So I press the little disk symbol for saving. The image is now saved. I know this because I now have a picture of a trash can or a rubbish bin, which if I was to press that, it would delete this image. Next to the delete button, though, we have the photo gallery button, and when I press this, it actually shows me my saved image. Now in this case, it's the only image in the memory of this Snow 12. If there were multiple images, I could use the buttons to move left or right, and once I actually have the document I want, I can just press my mode switch to accept, and that's the document that opens. If I open the interface again, if I want to exit from this saved image, all I have to do is press the exit button over on the right-hand side, and again, and then we go back to our live view. I'll put the document back here so that we can see it. We will cover in a different video how we can actually access that gallery when we're not in the freeze mode. If you would like to learn more about Snow 12 or any of the other products from ZoomX, please visit our website at www.zoomx.com. Thanks again. Okay, so now we're going to look at the next button, which is the home button. And as I mentioned earlier, this button allows us to access the main menu. So all I do is press and release.
Text-to-speech function.
And we have now entered the menu. There are 6 icons or images that appear on the screen in this mode. We can access them in one of 2 ways. One is, if you're able to see the image clearly enough, you can simply use a finger to tap the button to access it. However, for the purpose of this video, we're going to be using buttons only. So how do we navigate around the menu? Well, using the analog stick, remember it can move in different directions. If I move it to the right,
Photo gallery.
it advances to the next option and speaks to us saying photo gallery. If I go to the right again,
SnowLink.
It says SnowLink, that's for the external camera that we'll be introducing later.
Settings.
I keep going and now get to settings. We will be looking in detail at the settings menu a little later in this video.
System information.
The system information button simply contains information about the device. It also allows us to perform a factory reset if necessary.
Return.
And the return button is basically the way that we would exit from the menu. So I could, by the way, at any point when I hear the option that I want, just press the mode button over on the right to accept it. However, when you're in the menu, you can also exit by simply pressing the home button again, and it goes back to the live mode. But let's go back in so we can look at the options in a little bit more detail. So I'm going to move to the photo gallery. As we saw earlier, we're able to capture images in Snow 12 using the freeze button. You can in fact store up to 1,000 images. To access the photo gallery, because we want to see, for example, the image that we captured earlier, I just press the mode button and we're presented with two choices, PDF and photo. We're going to use the photo mode. And so here is the image that we captured before. I want to accept it, so I press the mode button again. And there is the image that was captured. So if we want to exit from here, if you remember, over on the right-hand side, we have our interface, and I can go ahead and hit the return button to come out, and we can exit from the photo gallery in this way. So in this particular example, I took a picture or captured an image of something where the text was actually the right way up. But if for some reason the text that you take a picture of happens to be at an angle or sideways, for example, or upside down, you can rotate and change it. So we direct our attention back to the lower right corner to open the interface, and there is an on-screen button which allows us to rotate the image. So in this case, our text is actually the right way up. But the rotate allows us to change the orientation. So let's say that this, in fact, was what we did, and we took a picture of something upside down. It doesn't matter because you can always use the rotate button, and each time I press it, the image rotates 90 degrees. And we can then make things the right way up, and you won't have to worry about this again. The only thing to add is that while we can change the orientation of photo images that we've captured using the button, if you are using a PDF format, so a PDF is a type of file format, those documents cannot be rotated. And so just something to remember. So let me exit from here, and we can move on. So I'm going to return to the menu.
Text-to-speech function. And
this time I want to go into the settings area. I happen to know that the settings is below the OCR text-to-speech button, so I'm going to move my analog stick down.
Settings.
Come across to my mode button, press to select.
LED lights.
And so here we have 12 new buttons, and these allow us to make adjustments to the way Snow 12 performs certain functions. The first one is LED lights. So if I press the mode button to select this, the first time I press it, it turns off the LED light on my right, leaving the one on the left-hand side on. If I press it again, it does the reverse. Now the left-hand LED is switched off and the right hand is on. If I press it again, both lights are off. If I press it again, both lights are on. If I use my analog stick,
volume,
I have my volume option, again with the mode. So here we have the place where we can actually make Snow 12 speak quieter or louder. And so if I use my analog stick, what happens as I do so is that there are a row of rectangles. As the rectangles fill in yellow, and in this case all the way to the right-hand side, Snow 12 is going to be the loudest setting possible. As I move my analog stick to the left, you'll see that yellow boxes become white boxes, indicating that we are actually decreasing the volume. And once I'm done, if I just press the mode button, I will return back to the settings menu. Let's continue.
Screen brightness.
Screen brightness. Going to access with mode. You change screen brightness in much the same way that we change the volume. That is to say that we use the analog stick. So at the lowest level, the screen has become quite dim, but if you have light sensitivity issues, this may be preferable. And as I move to the right, the screen gets increasingly brighter. But the default somewhere in the middle is generally fine for most people.
Reading line or masks.
The reading lines or masks feature, again, press the mode. And so there are 5 options that are displayed on the screen. The button that is highlighted is the one where there is no lines or masking. If I use the analog stick to move to the right, the on-screen button that is highlighted is the one with a horizontal line. You might notice that in the background we have a red line that is visible on the screen. If I want to change the line position, depending on what I'm doing, I use my analog stick by just moving it up and down, and the red line moves on the screen. If I move the analog stick to the right, now I am in the vertical line mode, and just as you saw before, if I want to, I can change just by moving up and down. I can change the position of this line. So if you were going to be reading something in columns, you might want to move the line so it's just at the end of one column, making it clear where the new one starts. If I move to the right, I then have the horizontal masking. So there's only a small window that is open. As I use my analog stick and go up, I can make that window taller. And the area that is black is the masking. And it's basically hiding other things, so it can sometimes make it easier to read along a line of text without losing your place. And then we have the vertical masking. And again, this is just so that if you are reading down a column, it's easier to kind of mask everything else so you don't accidentally continue reading past the end of the line. But we're going to turn off the masking and we're going to go back to the settings menu.
Intensity of contrast.
So intensity of contrast relates to how clear fonts look when you are looking at them in a high contrast mode. So when I go here, so right now the contrast is actually at the highest setting. As I move the intensity down, you may notice that some of the letters on the page, especially over here on the right, are starting to fade. And so if you ever see text that looks like that, by increasing the contrast, you can fill in some of the gaps. You can also adjust this when you're in the live viewing mode by simply pressing the mode button, and while pressing it, press the zoom in or out, and it will also adjust this feature.
Color mode.
So color mode is where we can determine or decide which colors are going to be visible to us. So here we have all of the different high color contrast modes. So for example, white on black, black on white, and so on. As I move through this list of color choices, if I came across to the green and I say, I don't want this one. So if I just press the mode switch, a line has now been drawn through. So green on black will no longer be shown. I don't want to see yellow and blue either, so I'm going to put a line through there. And I'm going to do the same thing for the inverted mode. So now I only have access to 6 colors. And so by doing this, if I am toggling through the different colors with my mode switch, I don't have to see colors that I'm never really planning to use.
Language.
Language. So this option relates to the OCR and the text-to-speech function of this particular model of Snow 12. So if you have a version of Snow 12 without OCR and speech, this is not going to be something you will use.
Auto.
So the first option is auto. It's actually the default setting. This means that Snow 12 will attempt to recognize what language is visible on the document that you're trying to read, and it will apply the appropriate voice to that language. However, there are about 20 different languages in here, and if I use my analog stick and come down, American English, British English. There are other versions of English here, like Australian and Indian English. What we mean simply is that when you choose the specific region, it will change the voice to a voice that sounds like that country. But if I carry on through, you then start having some of the non-English languages. So in this case, Danish, although the foreign language is it is always displayed in that language so that the person who speaks it will recognize their language when they see it. I'm going to bring this back up to auto and go back.
Female.
So this is the actual, the gender of the voice that you listen to. And so if we press the mode button, it will decide whether it's male or female. And you can do that for the different languages that are present in the unit.
60 hertz.
So the Hertz button speaks to the display rate of Snow 12 when you are connected via HDMI out to an external monitor. For most people, 60 Hertz is going to be the level that you want to use, and you should have no reason to change this. But if you happen to be in a country where the display rate of a television, for example, is lower,
50 hertz.
Then you can switch it to 50 Hertz and you will have a better image quality in those instances.
60 hertz. Touch screen function on.
So, touch screen function. As we explained, you can select things that are on the screen by tapping them with your finger, or use the buttons as we have been doing in this video. If we were to disable the touch screen, it will warn us that, do we really want to turn it off? If we turn it off, that means that we will only be able to access things with buttons. You will no longer have access to on the screen. It is on by default, but if you want to switch it off, this is where you come to do so.
Demo mode.
So the demo mode will simply step through all of the main functions of Snow 12. I think for most people using Snow 12, this isn't something that you will need to do. It's more something that we would use when we are at a conference or an exhibition and we want to have the unit display some of the things that it can do.
Return.
And then finally we have the return button. If I select this, it goes back to the main menu where we were before. If you would like to learn more about Snow 12 or any of the other products from ZoomX, please visit our website at www.zoomx.com. Thanks again. Hello, my name is David Bradburn. I'm with ZoomX, and in this video we will be introducing you to the advanced features of text-to-speech and OCR. Note that if you have the version of Snow 12 without OCR and text-to-speech, you will still have access to this function for 30 times. So at least it will give you a chance to trial it and decide if it might be something for you. There are two ways to access the text-to-speech function. One is, if you're outside of the menu, just to press and hold the freeze button for 3 seconds. The other option, and the one that we're using now, is that you come into the main menu. The text-to-speech function actually is the very first thing that we find, and I press the mode button.
Text-to-speech function.
And it goes into that function. Now, right now we're only looking at the table, so let's bring something in for us to actually look at. So when we are in the text-to-speech mode, and we have our text here on the screen, other than doing a tap to focus if necessary, there's not really much else that we can do here. You can't make things bigger or smaller. It's exactly what the camera can see. Once I'm ready, I simply press the freeze button and release it. The device takes a picture, and you'll hear what's...
Standby mode.
Let me just pause it 1 second. So you'll hear it kind of making a noise as it's doing the recognition, and it then displays things in this text mode. I'm using my zoom in button to make things bigger and smaller. I can use my mode button if I want to change the colors. And at the bottom of the screen, we have a series of on-screen buttons that we can use to change certain things. So for example, there towards the middle, we have the slower and faster buttons, which will increase.
Speed up. Speed up. Speed down. Speed down.
So this is going to determine how quickly your device is going to speak. We also have the volume down, volume up buttons.
Volume up. Volume up. Volume down.
So you can find a volume that you find comfortable to listen to. And as words are spoken, they are highlighted in a contrasting color to assist you with focus. The other options that we have along the screen here, we have a save button. We have a similar one when we're doing just regular capture, but if we press this, we can choose if we want to save our information as an RTF or a text document. There's a button over on the left-hand side which can be used to switch between this text mode or the image mode. So when I go to this image mode, we see basically what we saw before we took the picture. If this was a larger document and there was multiple sections of text, we would also see a number next to this kind of red outlined rectangle. The number would indicate the reading order of Snow 12. So if there were 4 reading zones and you'd see them numbered 1, 2, 3, and 4, you could either just leave the device to read to you or just select by tapping on the screen or just pressing your play button and you can listen to that section being read. But if you want to manipulate how things look, then you really do need to be in the text mode, at which point, as I said, you can change the size of the zoom and so forth. So perhaps the most important button of all is the play and pause button. Right now, Snow 12 is not speaking, and so the button that's displayed is a play button. Note that when I press it, the play symbol will change to a pause symbol.
Keep the unit on. It is designed for power.
And when I press pause, it changes again to a play button. But this is how we can start and stop the reading process. And finally, if we want to hide this on-screen interface, over on the left-hand side is the button for collapsing. And when I press it, everything collapses into one small little button over in the lower right-hand corner of the screen. If I press that button again, that's how we can expand it. When I'm done, I can just hit the return button. That exits back to the live mode, so if I'm moving this, I can see other things. We will cover doing full page recognition in the video about using the foldable stand with Snow 12, which will elevate it. As you can see, if I just lift this up, I can see more of the information, but you might not be able to keep the unit still when it comes time to take the photograph. So use the reading stand or the writing stand for that. If you would like to learn more about Snow 12 or any of the other products from ZoomX, please visit our website at www.zoomx.com. Thanks again. Hello, my name is David Bradburn. I'm with ZoomX, and in this video we will be looking at the foldable stand that comes with the Snow 12 video magnifier. So I'm going to open the carry case, undo the Velcro strap. I'm just going to pick it up by one side and I'll move the carry case out of the way. Don't actually need that anymore. And so here's the stand. So in terms of size, it's certainly bigger or deeper than the Snow 12, but it's in the closed position. I'm just going to place it on the table. There are some little rubber feet underneath, which I can certainly move it, but it doesn't move quickly. It will have some resistance to prevent this from falling onto the, off of the table. So how do we open it? So with the foldable frame or stand in front of us, I lift it up, and as I do so, let's take a look here on the right-hand side. The same thing is on the other side, but there's a small little piece of metal. This is what we call a brace. And the brace, once it frees this area, it falls into a little hole. There's another one over on the left-hand side as well. So there's one on both sides. And these now are steadying the main arm of the foldable stand. Now what I want to do is with the middle section, the cradle in the middle here, I just hold it with one hand and it swings up and over completely, and I keep unfolding it until it can't go anymore. And now the cradle of the frame is directly in front of me. This is where the Snow 12 will go in. Let's look quickly then at how we close the frame, and then we'll open it again and bring Snow 12 into the picture. So with the cradle, we rotate it towards the back of the unit. It will stop. There are small little pieces of metal on the inside of the arms that prevent that from moving any further. Once it's done, we fold the inner arms towards the back. Those also will stop. And then on the left and right hand side, so what you want to do, it's not heavy, but you want to just lift it up just a little bit. I'm using my thumbs to actually support the arms. And with my fingers, I'm actually gripping behind the braces just enough for them to clear the little holes, and then the frame will go down flat, at which point I can put it back in my carry case and I'm good to go. So let's do that again. So I go backwards. The braces have slotted into the little holes. I bring the inner arm out and then keep unfolding until the cradle is now in front. Great. Now let's get our Snow 12. So I'm going to just turn this around. I want to actually close the feet. Pay attention to where the press labels are. That's where we want to press. And I'm going to slot Snow 12 into this mode. And if I actually take our user guide that we were reading before, if I just kind of place this underneath, I'm going to exit from the menu here. So in this mode, the Snow 12 has a small sensor in the back that aligns with a small magnet in the frame. So it knows that it is in the frame mode. The LED lights switch on, and we're now able to see our information below. So anything that I put underneath here, including my hand, or other objects that we want to look at, will be here. Of course, zooming in on things, changing the color contrast as we were showing before, all of that is possible. But you now have increased functionality with your Snow 12. So this is using the user guide. The other thing, so if I'm using a pen, and I bring my pen in here, so I can change my mode to just normal color for right now. So I'm able to see the tip of the pen, and I'm able to write on the document. So if I'm doing more than just signing my name on a check, if I'm filling out a form or I'm even writing to someone, I can write underneath here much more easily. There's plenty of room to do so. In terms of looking at things, so again, if I put my hands under here, everything will be enlarged. I'm going to actually kind of zoom out a little bit. So I can see my hands if I'm working with a small piece of arts and crafts, or perhaps I'm looking at the label on a can of food or something like that. We can do so underneath the Snow 12 here. The other thing is that if we're going to do the OCR feature, so I'm going to go into the menu,
Text-to-speech function.
go into the OCR mode.
Text-to-speech function.
And so here now we're seeing the entire page. If you look at our video about the OCR and text-to-speech, we're only seeing a small section of the page when Snow 12 is on the table. But here we're able to see the entire page. So if you want to do full page text recognition with Snow 12, this is absolutely the best way to do it. And so I'll move my document out of the way. So if we're done using the frame, just carefully hold Snow 12 by the sides, lift it out of the cradle, place it to one side, and then you can close up your reading frame again to move on and do something else. It's that simple. If you would like to learn more about Snow 12 or any of the other products from ZoomX, please visit our website at www.zoomx.com. Thanks again. Hello, my name is David Bradburn. I'm with ZoomX, and in this video we're going to learn how we can transfer files from our computer to the Snow 12 video magnifier. This can be especially helpful if what you have access to is content in a PDF format, for example, and you want to bring it into Snow 12. So I have my USB cable, the one that came with Snow 12. I've taken it from the box. There are two ends. The smaller of the two ends is the USB Type-C. So if I turn my Snow 12 to one side to make visible, then on the left-hand side at the top is the USB connection. I connect my cable there. Let's just turn the Snow 12 back around to face us. And then with the standard end, I'm going to connect this to the side of my computer. And when I do, what will happen is that my computer will recognize that Snow 12 is connected, and it opens up a window which says Snow 12. So I'm going to be using my mouse on the computer. So I'll double click to go into Snow 12. When I do, I find a variety of different folders inside Snow 12. Please do not rename these folders. If you do, that could cause your device to stop functioning properly because it will not know where to find certain files. But the folder that we're specifically interested in is the one that is at the top of the right-hand side. In this particular instance, it's called DCIM. I double-click on DCIM, and there are 4 subfolders inside. There's a PDF folder for PDF files. There's a photo folder, there's a photo OCR folder, and there's a TXT/RTF folder. So the photo OCR, the photo, and the TXT/RTF are folders where you can actually save content on the Snow 12. So if you take a picture using the freeze button and you save it as a photo, it's going to save in the photo folder. If you are using OCR and save things as an image, they'll be in the photo OCR folder. And finally, if you've done OCR and you want to save the text of the document either in a text or an RTF, RTF is rich text format, they'll be in here. But PDF is what we're looking at right now. So I'm going to go into the PDF folder. Now, this being a brand new Snow 12, there are no documents in this folder, and indeed it says that the folder is empty. But I have a document already on my computer desktop. It's actually the brochure for Snow 12. So there are different ways to copy and paste or otherwise move documents from the computer to Snow 12. You should use the version that you're most comfortable with. So one option, which I'm going to use since I'm using a mouse, is I've selected the file. I do a right mouse click, and there's an option in the menu that says copy. I select that. And then I come over to the area where it says the folder is empty. I do a right mouse click and I do paste. And when I do, the document is copied over to the Snow 12, and I can now see that I have a file inside Snow 12. I can copy over entire batches of documents if I want. The only limit is the memory of Snow 12. But again, you can store hundreds, indeed up to 1,000 images, depending on their size, inside Snow 12. At this point, I can freely disconnect the cable from my computer. The window that was open disappears, and I'm just going to go ahead and close the lid of my computer because I don't need it anymore. Let's bring Snow 12 into the picture again. I'm going to disconnect the USB cable from the left-hand side, and we'll place our cable to one side because, again, we don't need that any longer either. So I'm already in the main menu in Snow 12, and if we remember,
Photo gallery.
The photo gallery, which is the second option in the main menu, is where I can find documents or images that have been saved in the memory. Use the mode button to enter. And instead of photo, I'm going to come over to the PDF. I only have one document in here, and this is the PDF document that I just copied over from the computer. I'm going to press my mode button to accept it. The document is now open. Direct your attention to the upper right corner of the screen. There is a circle with a fraction inside. The first number represents the page that we are currently on, which is page 1. Then there's a slash, and the second number is the total number of pages in this document. So we're dealing with a 4-page document, and we're on page 1. If I want to advance to the next page, I simply swipe up on the screen. I touch the screen and swipe up with my finger, and it moves to the second page. At any point, I can use my zoom button to zoom in, and the image quality looks just fantastic. When I make it bigger, I can use my analog joystick to move left, right, up and down anywhere on the document. Alternatively, I could use my finger on the screen. I just touch the screen. You don't have to put a lot of pressure. And I can move things to wherever I want to. If I want also, I can press my mode button to change to one of the high contrast colors. Let's exit by pressing the on-screen button in the right-hand corner, and you'll see the return button. That exits back to the photo gallery. If I press the return button again, we now exit. Now what we're going to do is look at that same document, but this time in the OCR and text-to-speech mode. Let's go into that mode now.
Text-to-speech function.
I'm in the text-to-speech function. I go to the menu.
Text-to-speech function.
I come to the photo gallery, go in there, come over to PDF. Here's my document again. I open it. So again, the same information in the upper right corner. It tells us the page number that we're on and the total number of pages in our document. If I swipe up just as I did before, it will advance from page 1 to page 2. But if this is a document that I actually want to have read to me out loud, there's actually a play button directly in the center of the screen. I tap it once and release, and Snow12 will actually convert this image into text using the OCR function. And again, we're in our text mode here, so this is where I can see all of my materials. If I'm in the image mode, then we see just what we started out with, which was our document. We have a red rectangle around the current zone being spoken to us. There's a number 2 below, and that is the next zone, which in this case is actually a graphical image. If I hide my icon, I can show that we have 3 other numbers at the bottom. So if I wanted to read the section 3 here and just start tapping it,
simple, intuitive.
I'll go back to my text mode, it's probably easier. And so here we're able to just kind of move around the screen to read the information that we want. And so that's how easy it is to take existing materials in a PDF format and bring them into Snow12 so that you can read them. It's really easy. We hope you like it. Thank you for your time listening to this video. If you would like to learn more about Snow12 or any of the other products from ZoomX, please visit our website at www.zoomx.com. Thanks again.